This is the kind of move that doesn't blow up your feed, but every real Lions fan and every offensive line coach in the league stops, nods, and says, yeah, that's how a serious team stays dangerous. Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report. I'm here with you, like always, one of you, talking ball the way we live it in Detroit. Straight, detailed, no fake drama, no lazy hot takes, just what's really happening with our team and why it matters. Tonight, I want to walk you inside a storyline that fits everything we've been watching this front office and this coaching staff build. A physical, grown-up contender that understands games in January are decided long before the snap, in the quality of the guys you trust inside, in front of your quarterback, when the pass rush is screaming and the whole country is watching. While a lot of people around the league get stuck on skill position names and fantasy noise, the Lions are in that stage where the questions are different now. What happens if one starter on the interior goes down in Week 15? What happens on a short week on the road with playoff seeding on the line when you need the next man up to play like a starter, not like a Band-Aid? Who do you plug in without changing the playbook, without shrinking the call sheet, without your quarterback suddenly feeling ghosts collapsing the pocket from the inside? You don't fix that with lottery tickets. You fix it with pros who have already lived the moments that define seasons. And that's exactly the kind of profile that's on the radar right now. Look at where Detroit stands. This is no longer the cute underdog, no longer the feel-good story the national media pulls out when they need something easy. This is a program with an identity, with expectations, with a locker room that doesn't flinch. Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, this whole group built a team that hits, that finishes blocks, that plays with edge, but also with structure. The offensive line is the heartbeat of that identity. And everybody in this fan base understands it. When the pocket is clean and the run game is rolling, this offense looks like it can beat anybody, anywhere. But anybody who truly understands how this league works also knows how fragile that can be if you don't keep stacking the right kind of depth. One injury at guard, one guy forced to slide for 3 straight weeks, one mismatch inside against an elite 3-tech, and suddenly your timing is off. Your quarterback speeds up. Your coordinator calls plays with fear instead of freedom. Contenders do not wait to feel that problem. They get in front of it. And that's where this idea comes in. Around the league, there's a certain type of player that teams in our position quietly track. Interior linemen with playoff mileage. Guys who have already handled complex protections, already picked up exotic blitzes, already held up when the stakes were real. Not the loudest name, not the jersey kids beg for on Christmas, but the guy the stars trust. A lineman who has 3 rings in his bag, who came into this league as a late pick, earned every snap, stepped in on the biggest stage and did his job, no excuses. A professional in every sense. In Washington, he was brought in to start, to stabilize, to bring some of that championship standard into a line room that needed it. Now, with that team navigating pressure, injuries, cap decisions, and a shifting depth chart, his name is naturally showing up in conversations about potential moves. On the other side, you've got the Lions. Real shot to stay at the top of the NFC, clear identity in the trenches, one of the best cultures in football, and a front office that has shown they know how to find value in guys who fit the room, not just the headline. When you line up those pieces, one name makes too much sense to ignore: Nick Allegretti. This is a guy who has blocked for elite quarterbacks, who has lined up against top-tier defensive lines in playoff games, who understands how to function in a system that demands communication, discipline, and execution on every snap. He's played guard on both sides, he's been thrown into the fire in huge moments, and he has never looked overwhelmed by the stage. That's not theory, that's tape. That's what coaches talk about when his name comes up. You're talking about a 310-pound interior lineman who can anchor against bull rush, pass off stunts, stay calm when defenses start mugging the A-gaps and moving bodies around. You're talking about a guy who, if he walks into Allen Park, already knows what it means to be part of a standard. And for Detroit, that is huge. Because if you bring in Allegretti, you're not asking him to be a savior. You're asking him to be exactly what he already is: a reliable, physical, smart guard who raises the floor of your entire unit the second he puts the helmet on. Now think about the fit inside this offense. Protecting the depth of the pocket is non-negotiable. You want your quarterback stepping up with confidence, not climbing into chaos. Allegretti is the kind of player who understands leverage, hand placement, how to work double teams in both gap and zone schemes, how to peel off to the second level under control instead of just throwing his body around. In the run game, he helps you finish 4-minute drives in the fourth quarter when everybody in the stadium knows you're running and you still move people off the ball. In pass protection, he keeps the front of the pocket firm, which is what separates functioning attacks from desperate ones in November and December. And the part that fits Detroit the most? If a starter goes down, you're not flipping your identity or praying somebody survives out there. You're plugging in a dude who has been there and done that, and you keep calling your game the same way. That changes how the coordinator thinks, how the quarterback trusts what's in front of him, and how opponents drop pressure during the week because they know there's no obvious weak link to pick on inside. From the front office angle, this kind of target is exactly what a grown franchise looks at. Nobody here is saying you blow up your draft or torch your cap for one interior lineman, but if Washington truly opens the door and the compensation makes sense, the logic is clean. You add a 3-time champion who is still in his prime playing years, who can handle both guard spots on a manageable number to protect an offensive core that is the engine of your entire project. That is the opposite of desperation. That is planning. That is looking at the offensive line and saying, we are not going to wait for something to break to pretend we care. We are going to fortify it now, quietly, like real contenders do. And that message hits inside the building too. If you wear this uniform, the organization is going to give you the structure to compete all the way through January. And I want you in this conversation because this channel is built on that connection with people who watch every snap. Do you see a possible move for Nick Allegretti the same way I do, as one of those quiet, heavy moves that doesn't trend but keeps your quarterback upright when it matters? Do you like the idea of investing in premium depth on the offensive line? Even if it means spending a pick or shifting another priority just to guarantee that the line's identity in the trenches never depends on luck. Drop your thoughts down below and be real about it, because this kind of discussion is exactly what shows the difference between a fan base that only reacts to big names and a fan base that understands how champions are built from the inside out. To close it out straight, if this interest turns into an actual deal and Nick Allegretti ends up in Honolulu Blue, I see a perfect match with what the Lions are trying to be. More protection, more stability, another tough, tested presence in that OL room, and even more trust for an offense that already looks dangerous when its foundation holds. If it stays as serious buzz and nothing more, it still tells you the franchise is scanning the right places, thinking like a real contender, reinforcing the most important unit before it ever becomes a crisis. Now it's on you. Would you sign off on Allegretti coming in to be one more wall in front of our quarterback? And who else would you put on the radar to keep this standard in the trenches? Hit the comments, join the conversation, and if you want to keep getting this kind of straight, detailed Lions talk without the circus, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report, turn on the alerts, and stay close. Because every time there's real movement, real rumor, and real analysis about this team, I'll be right here with you, talking like a fan who believes this window isn't an accident. It's something we're building snap by snap, starting where it always should, with a dominant offensive line.